the artist. But I'm here today to tell you that's not true. No, great art lies in the imagination of you, the viewer. My name's Quan. I'm an artist. I make invisible paintings. But before I show you what you cannot see, let's first look together at what we can see. This, for example. No one can deny the masterpiece of Da Vinci. We can all appreciate the technique, the composition, the atmosphere. But have you ever noticed the title? The portrait's Italian name is La Gioconda. In France, where it now lives at the Louvre, it's known as La Gioconda. And while those titles derive from the woman's married name, there is the added significance that the name itself comes from a word for happy. In English, jocund, the happy one. So we see the title, and we see that famous smile, we nod our heads knowingly, the happy one. But was she? Was she really? She lived in Florence under the rule of the Medici. She had a much older husband who was once thrown in prison. She had 5 kids, one of which died as a baby. Was she happy? Look at the painting. Here, Da Vinci made the choice for us. Not just about Lisa's emotional state, but about what we might expect to see if we bothered to read the title, The Happy One. More importantly, though, do you know when this painting really became famous? When it wasn't there. When we couldn't see it. When we had to imagine what it was. You see, before the Mona Lisa, or rather the Happy One, was stolen in 1911, it wasn't even the most famous painting in its gallery, let alone the Louvre. It was its absence that fueled our speculation, our imagination. And since its return, we've come to know more about this painting than we care to. In fact, this middle-class housewife from the 16th century is a longer Wikipedia entry than any of the real housewives. Beverly Hills or otherwise. And now, despite, or perhaps thanks to the occasional pedantic debate between smug smile and stiff upper lip, nothing is left to the imagination. The artist says, look at this! And we take them at their word. Da Vinci said, La Gioconda, La Gioconda, the happy one. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but I say words have the power to create 1,000 pictures. That's why I make invisible paintings, like this one. Oh, sorry, I forgot the title. Actually, this one also has a subtitle. Now, what do you see? Let's try another one. What do you see in this one? One more. Apologies, this one also has a subtitle. So what do you think? Is this all weird or wonderful? Let's try an experiment. I'm going to show you the titles of real works of art, which is not to say that my art is not real. Rather, these are works of the establishment's notion of art, worthy of a museum installation, let's say. You tell me what makes these pieces so noteworthy. Ah, yes, Da Vinci again, a master, we get it. But with a title as simple as The Last Supper, could it ever have looked any different than this? No surprises here. Next. Starry Night was a vision for Van Gogh, a recurring vision he finally painted while staying in an asylum, seeking reprieve from mental illness. But why so much pain, Vincent? Maybe he's afraid of what he can't see. The screen, by the way, is so familiar it now has its own emoji. we still get it wrong. The figure is not screaming. The figure is Munch's attempt to block out the piercing emotions brought upon by the reaction of his senses to this brilliantly red sunset. So I put the question to you now. What's more important? What you see with your eyes, or what you see with your mind? You may recall a quote from Little Prince that reads, "What is essential is invisible to the eye." I'm here today to suggest the same is true in art. After all, what do you now recall about La Gioconda, the happy one? A middle-class housewife with a much older husband, once in prison, 5 kids, one who died. An otherwise ordinary middle-class life, theft and return, fame, the Louvre, on and on. But look at the painting. We don't see that here. None of that is here. But what if the estimable Leonardo had chosen instead to portray dear Lisa in an invisible painting? My own beginnings with invisible painting seemed to have more to do with representation and interpretation. That banana is too phallic. Those cherries hang like your father's testes. The curves of that pear remind me of my ex-wife. Just to be clear, none of these paintings were mine. You may guess that since they are, in a word, visible. No, these were part of a museum exhibit a few years ago, and the comments were from you, the public. That's what I heard, or rather overheard, every day at the museum. People complaining about the strangest things. My dear, that painting is just red. If you've been to the museum, you probably guessed this person was standing next to this painting. Truth be told, unlike a good bowl of fruit, a Rothko can be a bit, dare I say, reductive. But it was this attitude towards art, this entitlement towards art, it was driving me insane. But it also set me on a new adventure of sorts. I began a new series of work, a new collection. I went to the museum every day, and I listened more carefully to what people said. In particular, I paid attention to what they complained about. And every day I went back to my studio and I began to paint what people said they hated about art. Did you see them hanging in the lobby? Do you recall which was your favorite? This isn't a trick. This is not the emperor's new clothes. I'm not trying to fool you. I never said I was a painter, at least not in the traditional sense. I only said I was an artist. I make invisible paintings. I don't use oil or pigment or canvas. I use my words, your imagination, and sometimes a frame. Because I know how much we like to put things in neat little boxes. And of course, how much we like to label things. So I'm giving you the framework, pun intended, to think outside the box. In fact, I've started working on a new piece now, and I would love to share it with you. What's clear is this: there must be trust between artist and audience, if there is to be truth. Now, since we're in a theater tonight, you might think this is all so much make-believe. Just stop and consider that term for a moment. Make-believe. Isn't it delicious? Religion is make-believe. Education is make-believe. Art is make-believe. Isn't that what we're doing here tonight? I'm here to make you believe. So if you're quick to dismiss this talk as so much make-believe, because, of course, let's admit it, some of it is, and some of it isn't. Let me share with you one more truth. Let me introduce you to Italian artist Salvatore Garau. In 2021, Signor Garau sold an invisible, or as he terms it, an immaterial sculpture titled Io Sono, I Am. 15,000 euros, that's about $18,000, give or take. It wasn't even his first. Now, as I said at the beginning, you may think the essential elements of great painting are oil, pigmented canvas or watercolors on paper. But I'm here today to tell you that great art is about seeing what others do not see and helping others to see what is not there. Great art lies in the imagination of you, the viewer. The artist must learn to trust you, even as you, friend, trust the artist to always tell you the truth. Listen to this. When I choose to exhibit an immaterial sculpture in a given space, this is Snurgaro speaking, it will concentrate a certain amount and density of thoughts upon a precise point, creating a sculpture that from my title will only take the most varied forms. Because, and these are now my words, invisible does not mean non-existent. Snurgaro goes on to say, and I quote, "You cannot see it, but it exists. It is made of air and spirit. It is a work that asks you to activate the power of the imagination, a power that anyone possesses, even those who don't believe they have it. After all, don't we shape a God we've never seen?